All right, make sure you watch this entire video, this entire breakdown. We're going to be breaking down conference football, college conference championship games, 3 conference championship games, and 1 Pac-12 game, but not conference championship. Here with Chris Temple. Welcome, Chris.
How's it going?
Give a little applause for Chris Temple here. Chris Temple giving himself his own applause. You got to love it. We're short Darren today. He's skipping out on this one because we're not doing NFL today. We're not going to be having the DFS or the player prop breakdowns. We're just going to be talking about college football games. You might be wondering here, what are these bottles of liquor? These are obviously our shirts. We got, I think, 8 bottles here, and these are all going to our presidential clients. These are the guys that pay $50,000 for the year to get all the top information from myself, from Chris, and from all of our top sources. So these are going to those gentlemen. And let's just get something clear. Before we get into these games, I'm going to get in these games in a second. We're going to break down all of them. A big shout out to our big fan of the year. You know, we just started this YouTube and Instagram thing at the beginning of 2020. Before that, hell, man, we've been doing this for 20 years. We started putting our ads in betting forums, betting magazines where they got mailed out. So we've come a long way. And now we have these videos, and we got our boy John Puckett. Thank you so much, John, for giving us all the love. John Puckett, ladies and gentlemen. You'll see him commenting. So here's the funny thing about John Puckett. We actually get skeptics that think that he actually works for us. And the funny thing is, no, he does not work for us. He is a paying client. One of these beautiful bottles of scotch are going directly to him. And guys, you're presidential. You get little things throughout the year that are just little extra thank yous. Now, let's get into these games. Got anything to say about that, Chris?
No, I just want to thank all of our loyal clients, and it's an honor to make money for them, and them appreciate us doing so, and a little token of exchange.
Yeah, so we don't just have 8 presidential clients. These are the new ones that joined this year. So we have 8 new ones. So that's cool. We get to raise nice funds for the company. And the good thing is, hey, it was a really crazy year. So to do something like this in a year like this year, it's a cool thing. And then those of you that are just fans, of course, make sure that you follow and subscribe to the YouTube. Make sure you follow the Instagram as well. Make sure you like this video and all the other ones. Hit that notification bell in the corner so that you get an alert when this stuff comes. So you don't have to be on there all the time. All right, let's get into these games. So we're going to have 3 conference championship games, 8 total moves. We're going to agree on 4, and we're going to disagree on 4.
Correct.
All right, so let's get into it. Oklahoma versus
Iowa State.
State.
First game we're touching on. Iowa State here is coming in as the 6th ranked team in the nation, so they're really exceeding expectations. They're looking great, firing on all cylinders. They're 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 games and 8-1 straight up in their last 9. So they're covering spreads. They're winning outright. They're 5-0 straight up in their last 5 games against opponents in the Big 12. So they're taking care of conference games, handling business there. Oklahoma, on the other hand, while they are ranked 10 in the nation, they are winning games as well. They're struggling against Iowa State. 0-5 straight up in their last 5 games against other Big 12 opponents. I'm sorry, 0-5 in their last 5 against Iowa State, not just Big 12 opponents. That's against Iowa State. So they're really having a tough time on that matchup there. As far as the total goes, over in 13 of Oklahoma's last 20 road games on Saturdays. It's also gone over in 8 of Iowa State's last 9 games against Oklahoma. So again, we have that matchup. Now, we know Oklahoma puts points up. They're always airing the ball out. That's why their games have gone over. But specifically against Iowa State, as I stated, 8 of the last 9 just happens to be that the matchup, and their guns blazing, both teams. I see here Iowa State covering, and I also like the over.
All right, Iowa State in the over. So we are going to have one move here that we agree on, and we'll get to that in 1 second. I'm going to add something to this breakdown, this preview, that I haven't added to other ones just yet thus far, and I think you guys are going to like it. So I'm just going to talk to you guys a little bit about where the totals are sitting, because the totals are very important. And where the public money is sitting on everything is just very, very important. And I'm not going to really break it down necessarily, utilize it necessarily, but I just want you to understand it. So this is a game where it's just 50-50. I mean, everyone's split on this game. And here's pretty much a reason why. These are two teams that everyone pretty much expected to be in this game, in this championship game. Iowa State, many did expect them to come in. They have offensive firepower. Breece Hall, Brock Purdy, 5-0 in the Big 12. Those trends that Chris pointed out, you can't ignore them. You can't look away. Brock Purdy might not have been as good this year as he was last year. Breece Hall has been a beast. He's going to be in the NFL next season. It's interesting. 30th in the country in rushing yards per game, but 11th in yards per attempt because of those long rushes that Hall would break off. And the Sooners, guys, 7th ranked rush defense on top of the offense in the passing, but 7th ranked rush defense, 3.03 yards per carry. And then you have Spencer Rattler. And like I said, he's performing better than expected as a freshman. I think they're 9th in the country in passing. Not the same in rushing, but 9th in the country in passing offense. So getting the job done. He's playing mature and limiting turnovers, really, really limiting turnovers. Lincoln Riley is coaching him properly. Sooners have a running back combination they love to pound the defenses with. They're not that high up there in the yards, but Stevenson has been the lead back. He was suspended for the first few games of the season, so that's probably a big reason why their rushing yards aren't up there as much, and just they haven't needed it. Spencer Rattler has been getting it done in the air. So, yeah, they are 5-1 against the spread in their last 6-0 straight up. Same thing with Iowa State. Iowa State's 5-0 against the Big 12 opponents. But here's the thing, and here's where it's at. Iowa State is all of these trends over the past few years. Iowa State's a different team this year. I mean, they're coming in powerful. They're coming in hot. Yeah, Oklahoma might be 16-2 straight up in their last 18 games against Iowa State, but 0-5. I think Chris mentioned this against the spread.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is going to be a close game, but I don't know. I mean, I'm with you on Iowa State, by the way, so that's the free play. But I just don't see Oklahoma covering this, and that's why we try to disagree with each other, guys. Not disagree, but we try to show both ends of it, but this is one where we just can't do it. So we're both agreeing. Free play alert, free play alert.
Absolutely.
Free play alert, Iowa State. Now, as far as the total goes, here's a key trend that I think points to the under. The total has gone under in 6 of Iowa State's last 8 games playing as a dog. Tough defense. Oklahoma does have an excellent offense. They're going to try to, now that they have that running back, they're going to try to really get the yards back. It's going to be Iowa State-Texas match. It was a final of 24-21. Big 12 defense puts on a show. Tough, gritty game. We're going to go with the under on this one. That's where we'll disagree. Under 58 points. And you know what? The interesting thing about this, the public on this game has 50-50. So you would think a game like this, public would be all over the over, but they're not. It's 50-50, but we're feeling safe with the under. Clemson, Notre Dame. Chris, let's hear it.
So that's the next game we're going to touch on.
Huge game.
It sure is, and it's a much different matchup, I think, than the first time they played, obviously. No Trevor Lawrence the first game. Stalski was out the first game. They had a whole plethora of injuries and COVID issues and all that type of stuff. Now, Clemson, everybody knows Clemson. Historically, they're just a great team. And on the other side of the coin, Notre Dame is kind of a little overhyped, I think. And I feel like everyone can kind of agree on that they're
the most notoriously overhyped school of all time. They
certainly are. So, my trends are pointing to exactly that. 9-1 for Clemson straight up in their last 10 games Everyone knows that they win games. They lost against Notre Dame, as stated before, without Trevor Lawrence and some others. 19-1 in their last 20 Saturday games played, and 19-1 straight up against ACC opponents. Notre Dame, on the flip side, just 2-4 against the spread in their last 6 home games on Saturday. So they're not getting the job done against the spread, and especially when they're at home, which is a little bit troubling. So they, they're going to look to turn the tables on that and change the narrative a little bit. I don't see it happening, though. I'm going to go with Clemson on this one. As far as the total goes, it's gone over in 5 of Clemson's last 6 games. And 6 of Notre Dame's last 9 games have actually gone over as well. The total's gone over in 4 of Notre Dame's last 5 games against ACC opponents. I think this one's going to be an air-out show by Clemson. I think they really have something to prove after losing last time. Notre Dame stormed the field after that win. I think they're going to take a little exception to that. They almost lost that game even without Trevor Lawrence being in there. So I think that they're going to air it up and down the field, and that game's going over. I'm on Clemson and the over in this one.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's tough to disagree with you on this, Chris. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot that points to Clemson. Big matchup. Notre Dame did win. They didn't have the players. They didn't have Trevor Lawrence. And, you took it with the claim of Notre Dame being overrated, which I don't disagree with that, but let's just take away Notre Dame being overrated for a second. Let's say Notre Dame.
I will interject and say this year might be a little different.
Right. So let's say, and they're notoriously overrated year after year, but let's just say they are that good this year.
Okay.
I agree with you on the play, but I think it's just because Clemson's that much better. It has nothing to do with Notre Dame even being overrated. I think they are just running the numbers up on everybody. It was nothing much. Notre Dame's numbers are great this year, are great against the conference, but so are Clemson's. I mean, Clemson's, and they had him out for, was it 2 weeks or 3 that Trevor Lawrence was out?
2.
2. Okay. And I know he wanted to play, but yeah, they had to have him out, and he was out and he did what he had to do. And their numbers are still great. And, the other thing, interesting trend, I think you noted it. Notre Dame's against the spread trend at home is not very good. Now, let's talk about the total here for a second. I'm going to reluctantly agree on the over. Let's talk about it for a little bit, though. So, I mean, here's why. I think Clemson just scores so many points in this game. Notre Dame averages a lot of points. We think offense is going to be dominant. Yeah, the defense are top 20 in points allowed, but it's just 2 offenses that are just meeting each other. Clemson ranks 26 in passing yards allowed per game. Notre Dame ranks 44th in passing yards allowed per game. Clemson ranks 4th in sack per game. Notre Dame ranks 38th. That tells me that Notre Dame is going to throw the ball. I mean, that Clemson's going to throw the ball pretty damn nicely against Notre Dame. Let's check something out here. Clemson, passing yards, they're ranked 7th in the country. With a 44 against the pass defense from Notre Dame, Clemson can really challenge that total by themselves. I know it's a big number, but I mean, out of that 60, they can put up 40 of their own. I mean, they can cover this 10-point spread, 40 to 24 or something.
And that line's already jumping up. So I think
it was a 7-point spread.
Right.
On this one, you do actually have some public money on Notre Dame. They're a hype team right now. And people love getting that dog. People love saying, yeah, I picked, this is a game where people love saying I picked Notre Dame over Clemson. It's like, that's something I never understood about this industry. Why, there's no such thing as bragging rights. It's either you win or you lose. Sometimes people actually bet games to be able to have bragging rights, and I think it's crazy.
Agreed.
It's absolutely insane. But like I said, a lot of passing, probably not a lot of, a lot of clock running. So the clock's just going to be stopping, incomplete passes when they don't work. But when they do work, they'll be going for 15, 20 yards. Trevor Lawrence, I think, has something to prove on this stage tonight. I think Trevor Lawrence has been pissed off all season. He didn't want to get shut down. They shut him down. I don't know the details of it, Maybe he was testing negative and he still couldn't play. I'm not really sure why he was so angry, but he was not a happy camper. I think he comes out, airs it out. Clemson with the points. Buy it to 10. Buy it to 10. That's our agree. So we agree on Clemson. Buy it to 10. And I think with the way Clemson's playing and the weak passing defense Notre Dame has, let's go ahead and go with the over as well, over 60. Go lighter on that, guys, because the public's all over it. But sometimes the public isn't wrong. 80% of the public's on the over on this one, guys, but sometimes the public just doesn't lie. When you know something's uncontrollable, it is what it is.
Yep.
Let's move on to the next game.
The next one we're touching on Northwestern and Ohio State. So this one, Northwestern's also looked incredible coming in, I believe they're 14th ranked. Ohio State is ranked 4th in the nation. Now they've had some issues with missed games. They're only 5-0. Northwestern sitting at 6-1, I believe. And I think that the Big Ten is going to be changing some of their rules, and I can't keep track with, they were supposed to play a minimum of X amount of games to get into the conference championship, but nonetheless, they're looking stellar. I think it'd be a disservice to not allow them to compete for the conference championship. They have earned their right to be there, and they're by far and above the best team in their conference. So, with that said, they're 12-6 against the spread in their last 18 games. So not only are they winning games, they're covering spreads. Ohio State 13-7 in their last 20 games on Saturday against the spread. They're also 12-5 in their last 17 when playing as the favorite. So most of these games, they are the favorite. There's very few games that they're coming in as the dog, but they're covering spreads nonetheless. Northwestern, on the other hand, while they are 6-1, I told you ranked 14th in the nation. They've looked great. They're having some trouble with the spread on the other hand. 1-7 against the spread in their last 8 games against Ohio State, and 0-8 straight up in those games. So they were having real problems against Ohio State.
Against the spread and straight up?
Straight up and against the spread.
Yeah. But not overall, though. Not of the season, yeah. Very
correct.
Crazy.
Against Ohio State. So Ohio State really has their number, and I think over the years they've been a far superior team, so there's good reason for that. But, spreads are still, bookmakers take those things into consideration and put the lines where they think, but nonetheless, Ohio State's beat those lines. I'm going with Ohio State on this one. As far as the total goes, under in 5 of Northwestern's last 7 games played in December. However, not a normal December, as we've stated before. COVID switched schedules around, but I wanted to throw that stat in there so at least you guys could take it into consideration. It's also gone under in Northwestern's 6 of their last 7 games. It's gone under in 4 of Ohio State's last 6 Saturday home games. It's also gone under in 6 of Ohio State's last 7 games against Northwestern. I'm focusing here. I'm sorry, it's gone over in 6 of Ohio State's last 7 games against Northwestern, and that's what I'm focusing on here, that matchup. So while most of their games, the trends are on the under in 6 of Ohio State's last 7 games against Northwestern, I think it's a big-time matchup play, and for that reason, I'm going to go over with this one. Ohio State and the over.
Okay, yeah, so listen, there's arguments for everything in this game. That's the beauty of sports betting, but we try to get that edge on those arguments as much as we can. I believe that we do. So Ohio State, Northwestern, the public is definitely on Ohio State. Good reason. They're Ohio State against Northwestern. Northwestern isn't usually in a position like this, but pretty cool that they are. And then as far as the total, I said I've been giving public numbers. It's about split. So yeah, Northwestern has had a hell of a season, though. I mean, compared to last year, very few wins. Pat Fitzgerald has really reshaped the program. It's a winning one, and they really weren't expected to be a contender, like you said, but they're here. They're covering spreads. They have respect from the odds makers, which is always an interesting thing to know. You got to look at where the odds makers listen. And we'll get into this more if you're a private client, but the odds makers, they have habits that are wrong. They get into bad habits. You can see an odds maker get into a bad habit and see other ones follow along, and that's what we get paid to do. We get paid to dissect that stuff. But back to the game, yeah. The odds makers have, respecting them. They had a hiccup against Michigan State, but listen, defensively they're superior. I mean, it is what it is, and it's they've had a reign on their conference because of that. So, if they're only scoring 20, 24 points a game, their QB, he's like a game manager. He doesn't F it up, and he's getting the job done in that category. And the defense does the rest. And there's nothing wrong with that. Teams in the NFL have won Super Bowls that way. Not so much anymore, but in the past. Listen, Northwestern, they're 0-8 straight up against, or they're 1-7 against the spread in the last 8 against Ohio State. 0-8 straight up. Ohio State kills them every single year. Ohio State has the better numbers. But here's something I'm gonna talk about here with Northwestern. So let's look a little bit more into this Northwestern team and this Ohio State team. Ohio State, in their last 5 games this year, 3-2 against the spread at home, which they are right now, 1-2 against the spread. So what am I talking about this for? Yeah, in the past, Northwestern has not been good against Ohio State. I get it. I see it. Their running game isn't very good. Their passing game isn't very good. Their offense is not very good. Ohio State's is. They're 4th in scoring, 6th in running. But Northwestern has the defense, so it's going to be very interesting. As far as the passing defense, Ohio State doesn't have it. So that'll be interesting. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. And I think and I believe that 21, you can buy this to 21.5. I mean, that's a lot of points. So yeah, Ohio State wins the game, but I just think with this Northwestern team this year, I think it's going to be a little bit closer. I mean, listen, it could be a 2-touchdown game, but 21.5 is a lot. So
it is.
I think just because of that, I'm going to say, just to play devil's advocate on this one, I would go ahead and probably, we're not betting this game personally, but I would touch Northwestern at 21.5. You got quality defensive backs with Northwestern. So I went over some of these numbers. They're 5th. Yes, Ohio State is powerful on offense, but Northwestern is 5th in scoring. And they do it on both. They're balanced. Their passing defense and their running defense is balanced. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go under on this game. I think it goes under the 57 points on this one. So this is the only game out of the 4 that we're breaking down that we're disagreeing on both moves. No free game on this one, I guess. Tier, but
still a good one to watch. Be entertained by it.
I'm pressing wrong buttons here, guys. Let me just give that up right now. I got to find the right one now.
There you go. Let Chris stick to the
I'll let Chris stick to the buttons. Guys, you're getting to watch the very first ones. We're still getting used to all this equipment and stuff, so it's pretty cool. We're a bunch of sports bettors. I mean, that's what we are.
We're not tech guys.
We're not techies.
This stuff here looks like foreign to me. We have young
dudes here in this office trying to train us how to do this stuff, and hey, we're still new to it. So this last game here is not a conference championship game. It's pretty weird how it worked out. The PAC conference championship game is actually Friday. It's tomorrow. Well, this is going to be released today on Friday, so it's tonight. But we're breaking down a Saturday PAC game that's not the conference championship game. Still two very popular
for sure.
and good PAC teams. Let's hear it. And this, by the way, it's a makeup game because of COVID, so that's why they're having this game. One more thing. It's very cool to have slates of college football every Saturday of December. Take it over.
I agree. Can't get enough football, can you? Stanford UCLA is the game that we're looking at here. UCLA, going back to last season, just 3-6 straight up in their last 9 games. They're having real difficulties winning games. However, 4-2 against the spread in their last 6. They're also 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 games against Pac-12 conference opponents. So lines makers know that they're not a good team. They're adjusting for that. But UCLA coming out and covering some of these spreads. Stanford, on the other hand, 2-7 against the spread in their last 9 games. They're just 2-6 against the spread in their last 8 road games. Also 2-6 against the spread in their last 8 games against Pac-12 conference opponents. I could, I think it's pretty clear here that Stanford's struggling in this situation. UCLA's they're kind of excelling in the, covering the spread department, not so much in the game-winning department. But you don't need to win games to cover spreads, and for us, it's all about covering the spread. That's how we make the money. I'm gonna stick with UCLA with this one on the spread. As far as the total goes, over in 5 of Stanford's last 7 Saturday games. It's also gone over in 4 of UCLA's last 5 games against Stanford. So again, we have a little bit of a matchup dilemma there. It's going, when these two teams meet, they're putting points up on the board. I think that's going to continue. I'm going to go with UCLA and the over on this one.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I agree with one of those. So we're going to get into that in a second. Stanford's putting up good numbers, but I mean, as far as these two teams, Stanford's 9-2-1 against the spread. I get it. 11-1 straight up, but it's just a little bit different. They've dominated them. They have, but it's UCLA. Last year, I think beat Stanford 34-16 or 34-20. They covered the spread big time. Stanford's definitely had a much better program than they have in the past, and it looks like the tides have turned. So I'm going to take all these trends, and I'm going to kind of just crumble them up and throw them away and say, hey, where we're going to agree on this one, and the free game is going to be UCLA. And here's why. UCLA is a type of team where great run game, quarterback, getting the job done. And let's look at some numbers here. I want to go over some of these because this is not, once again, a conference championship game. So when you have two teams like this playing each other, you got some extra stuff. So we were actually going to break this game down before. UCLA's 34th in scoring. So when you're talking about 34th versus 87, this is all a lot different. I mean, you're talking about Stanford, a team that used to have Andrew Luck. And I know that's not within the last 7 years, so it's not going to be in these trends, but that's the type of caliber that they were getting at one point, and they're not there right now, not at the moment. Their defense allows a lot of rushing yards and a lot of yards per carry. They allow 220 rushing yards per game, 5 yards per carry. It's 115th, 117th in the country. So if UCLA can run the ball against them, which we think that they will, I mean, it's going to be a cover. It's 7 points. Now, this is the interesting one. I don't know if Chris mentioned this, but I'm going to mention it because it's important. By the half a point. UCLA's at -7 right now, and you can ring them up as a free play. Free play alert. UCLA -6.5. Like I said before, their defense, it gets the job done. Rushing yards, they're ranked 16th in the country. And let's go into the practices. Quarantine laws, the facilities, so a lot of stuff going on and a lot of differentials. So this year is just so much different, and we really take a lot of those Stanford trends and we toss them. Defensive line of UCLA ranks 7th in the country in sacks. Stanford gives up 3 sacks per game. The defense barely sacks the opposing QB at all, averaging only 1 per game. I mean, it's a matchup where UCLA outperforms Stanford at every level. And let's look at some trends that we think help us and help a point that we agree to. 2-6 against the spread in their last 8 road games. Stanford is on the road here. And while I guess it's not really a home game for UCLA, you can go ahead and look at Stanford on the road. 2-6 against the spread. No matter where they are, they're just not doing very good right now. 8 games against the Pac-12 conference opponent, 2-6 against the spread in their last 8. The program's just really not on a good track, so we're going to go with UCLA on that one. Now, on the total, I'm going to go over a couple trends here. UCLA 4-1 against the spread in their last 5. UCLA last over in 4 out of their last 5 games against Stanford. Once again, different team, but let's hold on for a second. Now let's look at the second trend. Under in 6 of UCLA's last 9 games when playing as the favorite. Very interesting trend there. We think it's important. They do have a good defense, and the job of the favorite is not to allow the points, to keep the opposing offense from putting the points up, to keep that 16th ranked running offense on the field. That's where we see it happening. We see UCLA covering, and we see them driving that total under by the sheer power of their running offense. Let's look at something here. You have this is a crazy stat. I didn't even realize it was this big. How many minutes, Chris, in a football game?
60.
Yeah. UCLA's absolutely crushing in how much they're driving as far as down the field plays, putting up 74 plays per game. And what they're doing, Stanford has been going into teams that have not had the rushing capabilities of UCLA, and they're going to keep it on the field. I'm looking at like a final score of 34, and this is the only game that I'm doing this for. So ring us up on it if you want to hold us to it. I'm looking for like a final score of very close, maybe 34-20, 34-24. It's going to squeak under. It's going to be UCLA.
There you have it.
All right, guys, a couple things. What we're going to bring to you is this. We're still going to bring you some NFL breakdown. So expect this. Expect an additional Friday college football game. You're going to get that tonight. Then tomorrow, this is all for tomorrow. So all of this, that's all your free game for tomorrow. And then for Sunday, I'm going to give you one breakdown for Sunday. I want to touch on one other thing here. Bowl games. We're not going to do any bowl games in a podcast format because of how they're spread out, but we will be breaking down, I believe, the playoff, correct? The 14 playoff.
Yes,
so we're breaking down the 14 playoff, and maybe we will get bold enough to try to predict a national champion. Who knows? We haven't done it before, but maybe we'll make this year the first year. And if we do it, if we pick the national champion out of the 4, we'll be happy, I guess.
Yep.
We don't bet on those games. Just so you know, and I'll leave it at this. When it comes to the big bettors, the guys that are getting these bottles, the guys that that pay $50, they bet $1,000, $2,000 a game, whatever it is, $5,000 a game, $10,000 a game after a few years with us. They're not betting $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 on a national championship game, like the Thursday night game tonight. We're not giving that out to big players for the most part. So understand that, guys. If you want to be successful at this, don't always want to bet the Monday night football game, the Super Bowl, and the Thursday night football, and all that crazy stuff. Try to look for what everyone else isn't looking for.
Listen, it's fun if you want to throw some bucks on it, just for the entertainment factor. But as far as making money goes, it's really dissecting these games. Sometimes it's the smaller schools. Sometimes it's oddball games, as long as you're able to play them, which most people are. And, when all the eyes aren't on them, sometimes the lines are a little bit weaker. That's how we could pick them apart and really capitalize and make money. That's where the real dollars are put in your pocket, not for national championship games, although they're fun, like I said. But, you want to bet with your friends, you want to bet small, go ahead. But as far as these other games go, that's really where we cash in.
Yeah. So that's why we give them to you for free, the bigger ones. So you still have them. You still get our opinion on them. You could check it out. Take them, enjoy them. And let me just remind you, if you want us to keep this stuff coming, show us the love, bring the comments, subscribe to the YouTube, click the notification bell in the corner, like this video, like all the other videos, comment, follow the Instagram, follow the stories for all the gems that we put in there. Ted Brooks with the Sports Prophets.
Chris Temple.
Signing out. We will see you guys. Oh, by the way, guys, I'm going out of town. I'm still going to be bringing you my videos from the snowy state of Colorado. Chris is going to be holding it down for me here in the office, and I'm still going to be giving you your breakdowns. As far as the podcast for next week, we still will deliver you a podcast, I promise you, for some NFL stuff next week. So we were not going to let you down on that one, guys.
Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one.